Hi there, episode 5 of Caring 101 with Bren White, and just a few thoughts to share with you today for you to process and to put into play. You need to apply these things that we're learning because all the people around us, all the humans around us that we have relationship with, that we're interacting with every day, have a deep need to be cared about, just as you do. You have a great need to be cared for. But these two things go together, learning how to care for others, being cared for, being able to receive it from God and from human beings is not automatic exactly. It's what we're designed for, but it takes some work. It takes some self-awareness. It takes a certain humbling and a certain understanding. And so we're talking about a whole set of things. Part of it is from a tiny little book called On Caring by Milton Mayeroff. But the bigger picture has to do with God's design. And there is a design for human beings. And anyone who studied neuroscience for very long begins to understand that it is a complex system that has been designed perfectly. The human brain and how it operates, and the whole notion of a soul that needs to be nurtured and shepherded. The human soul has to be cared for. This is why it's talked about you and I needing to be like well-watered gardens on the inside. You need to take proper care of the way that you are built, what you have been given, starting with your own brain, your soul, your body, the people around you. And it just happens that Jesus Christ, the most impactful leader of all time in world history, was as a human being showing all humans how to care genuinely, and he did it in a very particular way, starting with a deep love for the Father, God, the point of origin of all things, the source and sustainer of all things that exist. And so I'm going to share a few things with you today, and we'll go the next step, listening to some of what Jesus Christ says about this thing of caring, of genuinely loving others. Now, Mayeroff in his book makes a few key points. He says, caring enables me to be in place in the world, to feel like I have some kind of place. And people have this notion every time that they move or when they come into a new company or a new church, they're seeking their place, kind of a special reason for being there and some things to fulfill. But it's not so much a physical space as it is a relational connection. One of the things we start realizing after we've lived for quite a while is that the things that matter most in life are relationships. They're your human connections and your connection with the one who put you here. Those are the things that are important and that last for eternity. And so we give greater emphasis to those things, greater priority to those things, because they are the things that matter most. He goes on to say, I am in place because of the way I relate to others. This brings us to learning how to care for others. Part of how you and I really get comfortable and begin to make headway and feel good about what's happening in our lives is when we are reaching out to other human beings in a supportive, positive, caring way, and making those connections. That is at a human level, not for a bunch of other reasons, but at a strictly human level. And he says caring involves trusting the other. Now, this is the next step in all this, really caring about someone. And he says something very interesting. He says to grow the other person, when they grow in their own time, you kind of have to trust that process. Everybody's not going to grow and develop, along the same line exactly. And so you're trusting the other in this caring process to grow in their own time and in their own way. There's kind of a uniqueness to the way each of us unfolds and develops as a human being, because we are each unique, made by God in His image. In caring for another person, he goes on, I trust him to make mistakes and to learn from them. Now, these are two very important things. You're always having to make assumptions, and some people are protecting themselves constantly, calculating some things, making some, I would say, negative assumptions in order to avoid being hurt. What Mayeroff is saying is that you and I are really supposed to be trusting each other in a particular way and giving some space for the other person to do and initiate and really do things in a personalized way. And yet we give them space to make mistakes. We know that human beings make mistakes, but also we expect them to learn from the mistakes. This is also in each person's best interest. Caring does not mean that you just, accept every crazy thing that people do to you. No, you're expecting people to make some mistakes, but you also expect them to learn from their mistakes and to correct them and not continue to do those mistakes. Now, this is talked about a lot in the Bible, and so we need to be instructed by this, and there are many, many passages in the Bible that talk about this in about 20 different ways. He goes on to say that trusting the other is to let go. Oh boy, here we go. This is a control issue for most human beings. Trusting the other is to let go. It includes an element of risk and a leap into the unknown, because you're just learning about this person. You're wanting to learn more about this person. And they are learning about you and learning about caring, just like you're learning about caring. But it's a leap into the unknown, both of which take courage. Caring about human beings is a risk. You're taking some risks, and you are leaping into the unknown. You don't know all of these people automatically. It's a process, getting to know them. So both those things take courage, which is good for human beings to grow in courage. Now, one of the things that's assumed in all of this is that as you learn more about the other person and you're caring about them, and so you have some motivation to care about them as you're learning about them, there is a set of things that happens in terms of closeness. Now, this isn't always true. It doesn't happen exactly in the same way, but as you get to know somebody and as you really kind of bond or spend time together or, share some things about your lives and so on, usually there is a closeness that begins to take hold. And this is one of the greatest joys, one of the most meaningful aspects of the human experience. So this is why caring is worth it in a number of different ways. But this closeness thing that happens in the caring process has in it certain things that are required of us and certain things that we're really blessed by. We grow out of all of this, and the closeness with other human beings helps us tremendously, mentally, psychologically, emotionally, spiritually, and obviously it's a relational thing. I wanted to share one thing about this from a book called My Soul Thirsts by Steve Korch, and it's a very interesting book. But he says our need for relationship is real. It's there by God's design. He's 100% correct. It's real. It's crucial. Relationship is a crucial central part of the design about this life that we're talking about, and we're trying to live every day. And he goes on to say, people everywhere long for close relationships. Now, after a while, if human beings do not kind of achieve some closeness in some of their relationships and they're hurt over and over and over, they, as I said last time, withdraw basically away, and it actually harms them in a number of ways, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. It harms human beings to not have this caring process at work. And sometimes even people who are very serious followers of Jesus Christ, sometimes they are not really living by this caring process. They're talking about love and some other things, but they're not really doing what's required to love even the people around them or the people in their church. And this is a big challenge, and it's one of the big challenges right now as I speak. I really want you and the people around you to begin to test yourself and begin to ask some questions of how are you treating the people that you interact with? How are you treating the people around you? Is it at all with the gentleness of Christ? Is it really the same kind of forgiving, loving gentleness that Jesus Christ was reaching out to other human beings with? Is it, in fact, that, or is it something else? One of the last quotes I want to just share with you from that book is closeness is a matter of the heart. Sometimes you and I just feel close to certain people, certain things click. And over time, especially if you've been through some tough things together and some other stuff, you achieve a certain kind of closeness. And it is a great thing, but it's a matter of the heart. Your hearts have kind of been woven together in some way. And it involves each person, though, giving oneself the freedom to feel the passions of the other person. This is even true of God. As you get closer and closer to God, the apostles say, draw near to God and he will draw near to you. That's what James says. And it's a principle. Basically, if I'm going to get close to God, I have to draw near to God. If you're going to get close to another person, you have to be near to that other person. You have to have some proximity and some openness, like we talked about last time. And it turns into this closeness. But part of the process, too, is you actually begin to have more than empathy. You actually are feeling the passions and the pains and everything else of this person that you care about. That's part of the closeness. And so these are amazing things that human beings are supposed to really have operating in their lives, and sometimes it's not the case. When humans have certain things in common or shared, that shared emotion produces a bonding, a joy through unmistakable meaning and a real closeness, Steve Korch says. Now, that's pretty potent, those things that we just shared. But the last thing I'll share with you as we finish up today is that A writer named Goethe, Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, had read Francis de Sales, and so they are both attributed with this quote, but they say that we are shaped by what we choose to love. And this could not be more correct. If you end up loving a certain person, a certain thing, a certain kind of thing or situation, they begin to shape who you become. And this is one of the main reasons for our talking about loving God with all of your heart. It's why Jesus Christ talked about it, because really our living is something that is sustained by Him. He designed it in this way. He designed it to be relational. And so the footing for this whole caring process comes out of who God is. He is the caring creator who is actively sustaining all things and who is the source of all good, the source of all that is true, all that is truly beautiful, all that is truly creative. He is the single source. And caring comes from Him. And it's why Jesus Christ's example is so potent for human beings. Jesus Christ, God in the flesh, comes to be with us, walk with us on the earth in such a way as to instruct us and love us and show us how God cares and how you and I are supposed to care like Him. Now, it's all based on Him, on His love. There is no other resource for this. You can't pretend these things and just out of air, come up with the real motivations for all this. It has a source, just like everything else in history. It has a source. This is always true. And so we hear finally the words of Jesus Himself. And in John 15, starting at verse 9, He is talking about the love of God, first of all, in John 15, and how really important, overarching it is in our daily living. There's nothing more important. This is what all followers of Christ are supposed to be known for. Love, the agape love of God, that is initiating, that's sacrificial, that is caring in the most genuine way, that's open and humble and gentle in the most true way. And so Jesus is actually saying, you are my friends. He's looking to the humans around Him and He's saying, you are my friends. And there's a certain closeness aspect to this, to the ones who are right around Him, his disciples especially. He actually says, you are my friends since I have told you everything. They shared everything. They share everything every day. They ate together. They talked about everything. They prayed together. They went through hardship together. And they shared everything. But Jesus shared with them everything, all the words, all the truth that was needed for them to live an awesome life on the earth. And He ends up that passage saying very, very simply, love each other. Love each other. That is the teaching of Jesus Christ. We will see you next time. Stay strong, and God bless you in all this. Bye-bye.